Hi everyone, I'm Natalia and welcome to my channel. Welcome to video on why you may have felt or currently feel completely intimidated, overwhelmed, and just really exhausted when it comes to studying Aleister Crowley and Lady Freda Harris' Zost deck. If you are currently feeling intimidated, overwhelmed, exhausted, or have felt any of those things, join the club. I have felt it. I feel it every time I still sit down with the stack. And I'm here to tell you why you may feel that way. I'm here to give you guidance and advice from my personal experience, how to get cracking and started, how to bypass all of that overwhelmed, and share with you a lot of resources that are going to be very, very helpful. For starters, this is, in my opinion, absolutely one of the best tarot systems ever invented. In my opinion, it is rich, it is layered with meaning. It is absolutely stunning and beautiful. It bypasses current times. I think it is futuristic without being too futuristic. It is a deck that lives on and going to continue to live on. It is mesmerizing. I can go on and on and on and on, stroking the beauty of this deck. And this deck, oftentimes, one of the main things I hear from people is that I've been wanting to study Zost deck, but I've been feeling really overwhelmed or intimidated or even scared picking up this tarot deck. As I have said before many times, this is way, 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 way more approachable to study than Rider-Waite-Smith, than Tarot de Marseille tarot decks, because Crowley, under Crowley's guidance, Lady Freda Harris laid out everything you ever need to know and to look for right there on the cards. Nothing is hidden. Everything is here for you to see. Having said that, we still, a lot of us, feel deeply overwhelmed. And we feel really as if we are unable to take this deck as an undertaking. And here's why, my dear friends, you all, including myself, feel this way. When one wants to study those tarot deck, what one usually does is start looking up for books available there on the deck. As I have said in the video, I'm going to link below on how to start studying this deck. This deck, in my opinion, rests primarily and is built primarily on 4 essential pillars: Kabbalah, astrology, numerology, and elementals. Now, that's just 4 essential pillars. There's obviously other things that go into this deck that I have not mentioned. But imagine the number of books and publications that are available just on those 4 categories alone. For that reason, when one wants to study those deck and one goes, for example, to Amazon or starts looking into what's involved or starts looking on YouTube videos for recommendations, one runs into this problem. Oh, to study this deck, you have to have the essential book. How can you not buy Aleister Crowley himself, the Zost book, or the Book of Zost? But when you get this book, it's hard to decipher because he speaks in, history, everything in that book, including kitchen sink. For that reason, you need Lone Miller Duquette, Zost tarot that deciphers everything that's in that book. But then even Lone Miller Duquette can be difficult to understand. And then you need, which actually, by the way, one of my favorites, those books, and I will share with you why, Scott Miller book, because it's more accessible. Oh my God, there's so much symbolism in those tarot deck. You need this book or something like this where it explains all the symbolism. And by the way, did you know that Marcus Katz published 3 volumes on those deck, each one sold separately on Amazon? And By the way, wonderful Emma Malin has Liber Book M for her rendition of Zostak, which just the book itself is phenomenal, which is true. Oh, have you seen Susan T. Chang, 36 Dickens, which is great to first understand Dickens in Zostak, which is also amazing book. Oh, and the best book on DOS astrology is Philip Sector book, which is also true. It is the best book of astrology. And to understand elementals of DOS, how about Tarot Decoded? So you can know how elementals work without really looking into reversals, or just have a really good grasp on elementals. And how about the most essential pillar that everybody talks about, Kabbalah? So Path of Wisdom by John Michael Greer. How about Yolanda Robinson? There's the revisited New Era Tarot. Oh, how about Anita Krast? Kabbalah workbook to help you understand better. Wait a second, there is Robert Wanks, the Kabbalah Tarot book. Oh, Lone Miller Duquette also has a book on Chicken and Kabbalah. What about Rachel Spole's book on Kabbalah? And last but not least, Kabbalistic Symbolist by Gareth Knight. My goodness. So, my dear friends, this is what happens. Do you see all of this? This, can I just say that all of this, my dear friends, is just partial books from my bookshelf. I also have Susan Chang, Tarot Decoded. I also have probably 20 more books on Kabbalah, probably 5 more books on elementals, probably 10 more books on tarot symbolism. You get the point. The point I'm trying to make is when one wants to study Zostak, one is confronted by overwhelming amount of literature on Zostak, because Zostak does has all of this richness embedded in it. And when one wants to study those, one feels, is given a feeling without realizing that it's just a feeling and it's not true. And let's hope these books are not going to fall down on me, is given a feeling that you need all of these books. And you need to read all of these books before you start really grasping those. Or you need to read this book simultaneously while you are studying those. I don't know about you. I am a woman of a lot of personal luxury, and one of my biggest personal luxuries is my personal time, which I have situated myself in life in such a way so that I can be self-employed, and decided not to have kids, not just only for personal time, but I just don't want to have kids, just to be clear. So I have a lot of personal time, and even me with a lot of my personal luxury time, which is rare for so many of you, doesn't have time to sit down in the morning, draw a card, and then, my goodness, it looks like I'm going to be spending the whole day just on that one card, going through each one of this book, trying to extrapolate a meaning on this card. Who the hell has time for that? Nobody. Not only that, it's exhausting. Not only that, everybody learns very differently. Not everybody is going to be processing information from books. Not everybody is going to be processing information by devoting so much time. Each one of us is different. Everybody learns differently. Everybody processes things completely different. For this reason, when one wants to study those and one is confronted with all of this, one is bound to feel deeply overwhelmed. One is bound to feel like your head is going to explode. Because you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh shit, am I signing up getting PhD in Zostak? Yeah, you probably are. But the truth is, it's not intended to be all at once. So let's backtrack a little bit. Aleister Crowley was an interesting man, to say the least. Aleister Crowley, first and foremost, was a man of mood. I don't say that lightly, mood with a capital M. I read 2 biographies of Crowley, and I read quite a few Crowley's writings. The impression that I get personally is that this was one moody persona. This was a person that had his own whims. And this was a person that was of a very, very deep intellect and intelligence. Crowley comes across to me as somebody who was deeply analytical. He comes across to me as somebody who most likely loved and enjoyed and loved studying, processing information. He strikes me as a person who processed information quickly and was able to extrapolate and break down difficult and complex things. He was incredibly well-read individual in a number of things, including history and mythology, just to name a few. So this is a person who could really sit down and go through very very kind of complicated and complex content, reading material, and digest it relatively quickly, be able to retain and systemize information, and break it down into chunks. He strikes me as that type of a learner. Crowley, for that reason, I think his deck, personally, I think, is also layered with so much because he was a man of so much wealth of knowledge and information when it came to tarot and occult studies that I think he really wanted to distill it all in the deck, which he did. And this is why his particular book, The Book of Thoth by Crowley, people say that he's thrown everything in here, including kitchen sink, and every time you read it or reread it, you get a different meaning because this is how Crowley was. He was a very deep individual. Now, having said that, I believe all of this and more that is out there is just a simple reflection of the richness and possibilities and never-ending sphere of depthfulness of this deck. And to some extent, I think it also mirrors an intimidation factor symbolically that Crowley wanted everybody to feel. Crowley, my understanding is that Crowley was a prankster. He really enjoyed socializing in large groups. And my understanding is that Crowley really enjoyed to tease and test individuals in his group. He will throw jokes, he will throw around little information, chunks of information that were there for people around him to decipher. And it was Crowley's way of kind of weaning out people in his group who he felt were not on par to his intellect, quite intellectually sadistic, actually. So, but that was Crowley's way of really intimidating people around him into particular conversation or lingo or jokes, you name it, and to see what the response was. And those who could not get Crowley knew were not on par with him. And I think to some extent we kind of feel it energetically when we see this deck, right? There's that energetic inaccessibility in a way. It feels like that. And I think that's the reason why we feel it this way is because Crowley was that way himself as an individual. And I think a lot of people, even people who wrote a lot of these books, felt like they needed to really go deep and do justice to this deck because without it, otherwise you will have a hard time reading with it, which in my experience is further from the truth. Are all of these books absolutely valuable for you to go really, really deep with this deck? Absolutely. Do you need them in order to get started? No. Do you need them to just read with the deck? Absolutely not. Thoth is enriched with a particular type of schema where Thoth really dives deep into the whole cosmos. It is considered, this is not just a deck that is capable of predicting, it's a deck that is magic in of itself. It truly is a microcosm in macrocosm. It truly is a whole universe in your hands. This stack considers karmic forces. It considers future beyond you influences, not only of your will, but of your will on the whole of the universe. It's a very, very deeply spiritual deck. It's a very, very deeply transformative deck. For this reason, because of the schema of the stack, there are so many books written on this, trying to really get deep and scratch the surface, and it can be very intimidating. It can absolutely be very intimidating. But here's the thing. This deck is meant to be with a seeker for the rest of their life. It's really meant to be with you for the rest of your life. And I don't mean that as meant to be the only deck for you. I mean that it's meant to be as the deck for you for the rest of your life. That's something that you are going to dive deep and every time find a new depth every single time you're going to sit down with. It's just meant to be that way. It's not a deck that you're supposed to, it's not a system that you're ever going to understand in one sitting. It's not a system that anybody ever is going to understand completely. It is impossible. Just like it is impossible to fully grasp the meaning and the structure and the schema of the cosmos, it is the same way impossible to grasp the structure and the meaning and the schema of those stacks. And if there's people who say that they have grasped this, well, bravo to their egos, because I tend to disagree. But that's the fantastical thing about the stack is that it's never ending, just like life. Life is never ending. It's meant to unfold in front of us like a red carpet and keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. And look at me getting all poetic. This is what happens when I hold the stack. This is what it does to me. Crowley, are you there twisting and turning in a grave, smiling right now that, you know, I'm caressing your baby. Well, it was never really intended his baby. Lady Frida Harris was the one who really pursued him and actually paid him to be able to work with her to draw the images for the stack. So having said that, what I'm trying to get at is this deck has a lot of starting points for all of us. For some of us who are more like me, who are like to really, I study through reading. A lot of this is going to be very helpful to me. For a lot of you who have a different starting point, who are very visual and very intuitive, looking at the images is going to be enough. Regardless where you're at in terms of your processing information style, if you've been wanting to study this and felt intimidated because of all of this, I promise you, you don't need to buy all of these books. I promise you. You may, as time unfolds and goes along, add a book here and there, depending where you're at. You don't need to acquire all of this right now. I would even go as far as to say you don't even need to acquire this right now. And I would go even further and say you also don't need to acquire this right now, because as much as I love this, I feel that Scott Miller's book, Zostero, is going to be, if you just want to start and you just want to not be too, sorry, my dress keep getting caught on the chair. And if you just don't want to be too overwhelmed with everything, I would highly recommend just this and a good tarot journal. Why this particular book? First of all, Scott does fantastic book. He gives you great overview of the cards. He gives you great overview of numerology. Remember how I said 4 pillars: Kabbalah, astrology, numerology, and elementals. I will link for you guys resources. There's the videos that I did how to start studying with those where I talk about it, and I'll link it below. In that video, I talk about how, forget right now Kabbalah. Kabbalah is the most, I feel like the most complicated to grasp pillar for all of us. Primarily also because there's many people, including the books I have, who write and interpret Kabbalah differently, who also have their own little nuances to the structure of Kabbalah, which just adds even more complexity to it. It's a spiritual system that is not so easy to grasp, that I feel like one only grasps through experiencing life. I say this with I say this in all transparency because even I haven't nearly scratched the surface of Kabbalah, and I read those all of the time. So I would recommend just forget Kabbalah for now. Focus instead on the three other pillars. Well, guess what? You already know so much about elementals. You already know about earth and fire and water and air. You already know, for example, that fire and water, when they're elemental and next to each other, they're probably going to, not probably, they're going to negate each other because guess what? Water is going to put out the fire, right? So think about elementals and how much you already know about elementals. And the video I will link below, I talk about it and I give you examples in that video. Think about how much you already know about astrology. Astrology especially has entered lexicon of our everyday living and existence, at least here in Los Angeles. Anytime I meet anybody, the first thing they ask me, what's your astrological sign? Seems to be a popular thing to ask in Los Angeles. But we're all inundated with astrology lingo, the way we're inundated with psychology lingo. Are you in denial? Are you being resistant? Or are you being anal retentive? It's the same way with astrology. A lot of us know Gemini signs. A lot of us know Leo signs. A lot of us know a lot of signs because either we correspond to the signs or we have people in our life who correspond to the signs. And hence, you already know quite a bit about astrology. And the last one is numerology. You also, just by picking up any tarot deck, will know the same numerological system from 1 to 10, how it tends to continue to grow, how 2 is a duality that creates a duality, 3 is a perfect balanced number. Also, 3 is a number of Holy Trinity. 3 is now breaking up the duality, 4 is that stability that comes, and so on and so forth. So keep in mind, you already know so much about these 3 first pillars. The same things you're applying to when you look at Marseille, and the same things that you're looking at Rider-Waite-Smith are going to be applicable here. Scott also does great job of astrology, quickly astrology synopsis of each sign. He gives you Kabbalah. If you want to go there, that pillar is available here with a very quick snapshot of each sphere. But I really love how he writes for each one of the cards. Not only that he has meaning, but he also has correspondences, symbolism, interpretation, and divination meaning. It's written not only in a very accessible language, but it kind of gives you a lot of things that you would otherwise have to extrapolate from a lot of other books, all distilled into this one. So if you want to get started, and you feel really intimidated and overwhelmed, I would highly recommend this. A lot of people watching my videos also ask me what deck am I holding in my hand because it looks unique, and it is unique. It is unique because it is first edition ever published of Zos deck, box A. It is, I call it fucked up colors Zos deck because that's before they perfected colors printing. As we know, printing wasn't that great back then, and this I'll show you why it is so fucked up. 6 of discs. I always makes me laugh because it looks like we have a camera flash here, very different 6 of discs than you would see from actually original coloration. Let me find it for you here because I have a little mini one. So this is the first edition that I personally purchased as a gift to myself because I love those and because I wanted this matte velvety cardstocks that first edition has that US Games and other reprinting don't have. As we know, it has a glossy cardstock. I don't like glossy. And in addition to that, I do actually like, do you see the difference? In addition to that, I do actually like the fucked up colors. I do like, well, my mom recently, I bought a perfume for myself that smells like inside of a chapel. And my mom said, what does it smell like? I said, it smells like inside of a chapel. She said, I understand, but does it smell nice? And I said, it smells very unique. And she started laughing and she said, this is exactly how you are. You all been like this when you were a little girl. You're the same way now. You like everything that's upside down. She's right. I like everything that's just different. And that's why I love this deck. Because fucked up colors, I like that it's for inaccurate color scales, and I don't care, and I love it for that reason. So it's first edition that comes with the blue borders that I trimmed. Do you need first edition or a green edition that is crazily being sold on eBay for $500 and up? In my opinion, no, you do not. You want to start citing the deck, just get US Games, $19, $20 off Amazon. If you want to play around, see how it feels without borders, which I will tell you feels amazing. Just get an inexpensive edition, chop off the borders so you can see what it feels like. The edition that you will get from US Games or AGM Mueller, another publisher, is the edition that's going to have much better crisp printing. For you who are starting to study, you will see so much more detail. You will see things you wouldn't maybe notice otherwise in the fuck-up edition. I have had US Games many years before, so I know all of the symbolisms in every single of the cards. So when it's a little bit fucked up, I still know what I'm looking at. But if you're starting out, get yourself a crisp edition. My advice is there's no need to chase a vintage edition. I think vintage editions become wonderful when this is like a very special deck to you and you have that special relationship. Or guess what? You just have money and you have no problem buying vintage edition. Then, of course, if money is not an object, not an issue, see, this is another fucked up coloration, then go for it. But I would just recommend just a regular current US Games or AGM Mueller edition will suffice. You can probably find used ones on eBay for hella cheap, or people just trading it in TerraSpaces, my favorite desk card. For journaling, what I would recommend, and I will link this below. Recently, I did a video on my all-time favorite tool to study Zostack, and it is Sabrina Scott's Tarot Journal, Getting to Know the Cards, because it is organized as a grimoire, where it is all in one place. I'm not going to go over this in this video because it's lengthy, and I did a very detailed video on this journal. I will link this video below, and I will also link below where I buy this Etsy from Etsy, those stickers that I put into this journal here. I'll show you right here. I will link it below. This is, for me personally, and I've been studying those for years because you always do. This has been a really great personal grimoire to have to continue study. It also keeps everything in one place, and I just love it. It just makes me really happy. It excites me, it rejuvenates me to study those. I love when tools are aesthetically pleasing and when they do all of those things for us. Do you need this? Of course not. You can just use any journal, any notebook to study those. I'm sharing with you tools that I find valuable. If I find them valuable, maybe you will too. And if not, or if you're, not in a position to purchase it, that's, again, you don't need them. The two, again, most essential things that I would recommend, just get a copy of this. And I do really think that this book is going to be fantastic for you to study with the source, start with the source. Forget about all the other books for now. Don't overwhelm yourself with all of the other books right now. Watch the video I will link below on my advice on how to get started studying this deck. Watch that video. There's also resources there. There's Lone Milo Duquette has great classes too, which are very inexpensive. Take your time and just take a deep breath. This is, when I feel intimidation from this, I see Crowley sitting at a party, trying to be clever and witty, and like he's smarter than everybody else. It was just Crowley's way to see who was on par with him. Crowley probably made a lot of mistakes assessing people that way, but whatever. But the point I'm trying to say is it's just a pack of cards. It's just a pack of archetypes. All of these archetypal energies are accessible to you. You have these archetypal energies within you. You have an understanding of this key of cosmos within you because you are part of the cosmos. You are part of this deck. This deck is part of you and you are part of it. You and this deck are one and the same. So it just may feel right now unfamiliar, and it may feel right now like it is a little bit more distance and remote from you, but it's really not. Once you start getting chronic, you'll realize that it's just like any other terror attack, except maybe just I'm biased because I think this is the best of the best, cream of the creme. I really do. But that's me, you know. How can I speak like that about my favorite one-time favorite Lavi Hani Zostak? So hopefully this was helpful to you. Again, don't let all of these books and more stop you. Trust me, I have so many more on my bookshelves I didn't even bring, and I'm still studying those. And I've read most of these books and still reading. It's just never-ending affair. It's always ongoing affair. The best way you will learn is just doing a daily draw and just starting looking at the cards. It's super accessible. Don't let fear get in the way. Don't let intimidation get in the way. Comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you are already studying or planning on studying this deck. Every time I make a video like this, a lot of you comment saying that you've been planning and now you feel really inspired. I really hope it inspires you to look into this deck. I think it's a wonderful system. I think you're going to absolutely love it. Another thing that I'm going to just finally finish up on, don't let fear mongery about Crowley being devil or evil to create a stop in tracks. There's a lot of misconception about Crowley. In my experience, people who say Crowley was evil or devil are people who have not read nearly, if any at all, books on Crowley. The people who, in my experience, do not thoroughly understand the history of Golden Dawn, do not understand the history of Crowley's time. Was Crowley a laffy-daffy man? Absolutely not. Was he a sexist? Yes. Guess what? Arthur Wade was also. Arthur Wade, if you think he was a wonderful man, trust me, he was not. They were products of their time. It doesn't justify any of their behavior, but we do need to give credit to the intelligence and knowledge that Crowley did possess, that Crowley did accumulate, and he accumulated it all by himself. Nobody handed it to him on silver plates. It was all through his own hard work and the knowledge and information that he have this because of him. We cannot divorce this from the man and from his geniusness. Anybody who ever truly looked into Crowley and in the Golden Dawn system will agree with me and will say that this man is absolutely genius. So I just, want you to be mindful when we come across people who just are so quick to throw around judgment or so quick to say things about individuals as if it is the fact in a very righteous way. Oftentimes, almost all of the time in my experiences, these are individuals who are not deeply familiar with the subject matter, and these are individuals who are really, they're kind of repeating what they heard somebody else say and believes that it is fact when it is not. Do your own due diligence, look at things a little bit deeper. There's a lot of videos, historical videos, a lot of great YouTubers who have done historical research and talk about Aleister Crowley and the history of Zostak. Look into those. Be your own, be your own kind of adult individual to assess things for yourself. Don't just be somebody who blindly believes what people are saying, including myself. Don't just believe everything that I say. Look into things yourself, formulate your own opinion. So having said that, I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful day. Hopefully this video has been very helpful for all of you, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.